We all know the tragedy of the Titanic, but did you know that another ghost ship from that same era has just been discovered after 120 years of absolute silence? An advanced autonomous drone descended into the darkness, and what its cameras recorded left experts speechless. The SS Nemesis, found almost intact on the seabed. Today, we will analyze these incredible images. Before diving in, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more historical discoveries. Let's get started. There is something about the shipwrecks of the early 20th century that captures the human imagination with a gravitational force comparable to the pressure of the ocean that buries them. When we think of maritime tragedies of that era, the mind instinctively travels to 1912, to the North Atlantic, and to the condemned silhouette of the RMS Titanic. It is the universal reference point, the patient zero of our obsession with naval disasters. However, the ocean is a vast cemetery, and the Titanic is not alone in its silence. While the world has kept its gaze fixed on the remains of the White Star Line giant, another tragedy, which occurred in a similar era and shrouded in an equally dense mystery, has waited in absolute darkness for over a century. Recently, the premise of a deep-sea drone reaching a shipwreck from the Titanic era has shaken the scientific community. Although headlines often seek sensationalism by evoking the 1912 giant to attract attention, the reality discovered by the advanced autonomous underwater vehicle Hydrus is a story with its own weight. It is not just about twisted metal. It is about the resolution of a mystery that has tormented a nation for 120 years. What the high-definition cameras of this autonomous robot recorded not only left experts speechless due to the quality of the images, but because it confirmed the final resting place of the SS Nemesis, a steamship that disappeared without a trace, swallowed by a fierce storm, taking 32 souls with it, and leaving behind only questions. This essay explores how cutting-edge technology has achieved what a century of searches could not, illuminating the tomb of a ghost ship, and, in doing so, opening a new era in underwater archaeology that promises to reveal the secrets sleeping on the seabed, from the coasts of Australia to the vicinity of the Titanic itself. To understand the impact of what the Hydrus drone recorded, we must first go back to the moment the silence began and understand the world the SS Nemesis inhabited. It was July 1904. The world was on the cusp of accelerated industrial transformation. In Australia, as in the rest of the British Empire, coal was the blood that fed the heart of the economy. The SS Nemesis, an iron-hulled freighter 73 meters long, was not a luxurious ocean liner designed for the leisure of the aristocracy, but a worker of the sea, a workhorse that operated on the vital coal route between Newcastle and Melbourne. It was an era where naval technology was advancing, but safety remained at the mercy of the elements. The ships of the Huddart-Parker Company, which owned the Nemesis, were known for their robustness, captained by seasoned men who knew the whims of the Southern Ocean. However, the ocean respects neither human engineering nor experience. Shortly after sailing from Newcastle, with the holds full of fossil fuel, the Nemesis ran headlong into a gigantic storm, a meteorological phenomenon of unusual violence off the coast of New South Wales, known locally as a southerly buster. What happened that night was the stuff of nightmares and speculations that would endure for generations. The ship simply vanished from the map. In 1904, there was no GPS. Radar was a science fiction dream, and radio communications were in their primitive infancy. There were no distress calls that could be heard on the coast, no flares that pierced the curtain of rain, nor clear witnesses to the final moment. The Nemesis entered a bank of fog and foam and never came out. In the following weeks, the sea began to return fragments of the tragedy in a macabre way, torturing the families who waited for news at the docks. Bodies of the crew, unrecognizable and battered by the waves, began to appear on Cronulla Beach, south of Sydney, along with remnants of shattered wood and life jackets bearing the ship's name. But the ship itself, the enormous iron structure, had evaporated. For decades, the families of the 32 crew members looked out at the horizon without knowing where their loved ones lay. The SS Nemesis became a local legend, a ghost story told in the ports, an unsolved mystery that rivaled the world's great maritime enigmas in its local scale. Had a boiler exploded? Had the cargo shifted, capsizing the vessel? Had it been broken in two by the force of a rogue wave? The ocean guarded the secret jealously. The depth and immensity of the seabed made the search technologically impossible or economically unfeasible for most of the 20th century. A technological revolution was needed to find a needle in a haystack of salt water. This is where the story takes a cinematic turn and enters the realm of science fiction made reality. For decades, the exploration of deep shipwrecks was reserved for multi-million-dollar expeditions, such as Robert Ballard's famous mission that discovered the Titanic in 1985. These operations required high-risk manned submersibles or remote-operated vehicles, ROV, the size of a van, connected to mother ships by kilometers of umbilical cables. These methods, though effective, are logistical nightmares, slow, dangerous, and with an operating cost that can exceed tens of thousands of dollars daily. But the Advanced Navigation Company has changed the rules of the game with its creation, the Hydrus. This device represents a total paradigm shift. Unlike its bulky predecessors, the Hydrus is a fully autonomous underwater drone, a marvel of micro-robotics that fits in a carry-on suitcase and can be launched by a single person from the side of a small boat. It does not need cables, nor a human operator with a joystick controlling every movement in real time, nor an industrial crane to recover it. The Hydrus is, in essence, an intelligent satellite for the ocean. Equipped with 4K ultra-high-definition cameras, advanced artificial intelligence, and a military-grade inertial navigation system, INS, the drone solves one of the biggest problems in underwater exploration: geolocation. Underwater, GPS signals do not penetrate. A normal vehicle is easily lost. The Hydrus, however, uses motion and acoustic sensors to know exactly where it is, with millimetric precision, while making its own decisions about which route to follow to avoid obstacles. The technological premise is fascinating and disruptive. You launch the robot into the water with a programmed mission. Scan this quadrant, and it dives into the abyssal darkness, adjusting its own LED lighting to counteract the absorption of colors in the water and capture images with a color fidelity that the human eye could never achieve at those depths without assistance. It was this tool that was deployed with a clear mission: to confirm whether an anomaly accidentally detected on the seabed was, in fact, the legendary SS Nemesis. Wait a second. Before revealing the exact detail that confirmed the ship's identity, I have a question for you. Would you dare to descend to those dark depths yourself? Or would you prefer to send a drone like the Hydrus? Leave me your answer in the comments. I'm curious. And if you are enjoying this historical rescue, be sure to like the video and subscribe right now. Your support is the fuel we need to continue bringing these forgotten mysteries to light. Now, let's return to the depths. The location of the shipwreck was initially identified by Subsea Professional Marine Services, a remote sensing company searching for lost cargo containers off the coast of Wollongong. Their sensors detected something large at 160 meters depth, near the edge of the continental shelf. But a smudge on a sonar is ambiguous. It's like seeing a shadow on a blurry X-ray. It could have been anything: an unusual rock formation, a modern ship sunk illegally, or simple accumulated industrial scrap. To solve the enigma, a close visual inspection was needed, something the human eye could not do without extreme risk. This is where Australia's National Scientific Agency, the CSIRO, Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, entered the scene along with the Advanced Navigation Team and its Hydrus drone. The drone descended into the abyssal zone. At 160 meters deep, sunlight does not exist. It is the upper mesopelagic zone, a world of perpetual darkness and crushing pressure capable of collapsing human lungs in an instant. The Hydrus, operating in mechanical silence, turned on its spotlights and began recording. What its sensors captured and processed left the experts stunned, not only by the discovery, but by the artistic and forensic quality of the data. The images were not the typical blurry, greenish, grainy shots that archaeologists are accustomed to. They were crystal clear, almost unreal. The video showed the shipwreck resting in an upright position on a vast sandy plain, as if the ship had simply settled gently on the bottom after its violent end, resisting capsizing even in death. The detail was what was breathtaking and caused the scientists' amazement. The drone captured key structures that allowed for immediate and indisputable identification. The ship's anchors could be clearly seen, still stowed in place, silent witnesses to the speed of the disaster and the futility of any attempt to stop the drift. Remnants of the deck structure were observed, the railings corroded but intact, and, crucially, significant damage to the bow and stern. The forensic analysis of the images revealed the brutal truth of the final moments of the SS Nemesis. Experts, comparing the Hydrus video with the original plans from the British shipyards and historical photos of the ship in its glory days, were able to confirm that it was the steamer lost in 1904. But the images told more. They suggested that the ship succumbed so quickly that the crew did not have time to deploy the lifeboats. The main hypothesis, reinforced by the visual inspection of the structural damage, is that the engine was overwhelmed by the storm, leaving the ship adrift, and upon being struck by a rogue wave, the ship sank in a matter of minutes. The clarity of the Hydrus images allowed these scars on the metal to be seen with surgical precision. It was this level of detail, seeing the individual rivets, the specific pattern of corrosion, the arrangement of debris on the sand, that left archaeologists and scientists speechless. They were not looking at an abstract sonar graph. They were looking at the face of a 120-year-old tragedy, preserved in a saltwater time capsule. Beyond the identification of the steel and iron, the Hydrus recordings revealed another fascinating aspect often overlooked in purely historical archaeology: biology. A shipwreck, once the human tragedy has passed, becomes something new for the ocean. It transforms into an artificial reef. The video showed how nature had reclaimed the SS Nemesis. Where there were once corridors and cabins, there were now structures encrusted with deep-sea corals, sponges, and anemones. Schools of deep-sea fish used the rusted hull as refuge against currents and predators. This duality is what makes the images so powerful: the juxtaposition of a human tomb and a cradle of marine life. The Hydrus, with its ability to approach without disturbing the sediment, allowed scientists to observe this unique ecosystem. This adds a layer of value to the discovery. It is not only about closing a historical chapter, but about understanding how artificial materials interact with the deep benthic environment over a century. How does iron corrosion affect the surrounding life? What species choose a 1904 shipwreck as a home? These are questions that the Hydrus helps answer, turning an archaeological mission into a biological one simultaneously. Although the initial premise invited us to think of a shipwreck near the Titanic, the geographical reality of the SS Nemesis, Australia, does not diminish its spiritual and technical connection to the famous ocean liner. In fact, this discovery has profound implications for future global findings, including those in the North Atlantic. The success of the Hydrus in identifying the SS Nemesis demonstrates that we no longer need Hollywood budgets to explore submerged history. It is estimated that there are 3 million shipwrecks scattered across the world's oceans. Each is a time capsule, a potential museum, and often a war or civil tomb. Until now, most were inaccessible, protected by the barrier of cost and physics. The Hydrus's ability to create digital twins of shipwrecks is revolutionary. By taking thousands of georeferenced photos and stitching them together using advanced photogrammetry techniques, scientists can create exact 3D models of the site. This allows researchers, historians, and even the general public to virtually walk the deck of the SS Nemesis without getting wet. They can study the deterioration millimeter by millimeter, analyze Edwardian naval architecture, and monitor future changes without needing to resubmerge. It is the definitive democratization of underwater heritage. For the families of the Nemesis crew descendants, the drone video brought something more valuable than gold or science: closure. For a century, there was no place to lay flowers, nor a coordinate for mourning. The New South Wales Heritage Minister expressed that this finding offers comfort to the families, closing a painful chapter in Australian maritime history. Knowing exactly where their ancestors rest transforms a missing into a remembered. The entertaining and inspiring aspect of this technology should not be underestimated. We live in a visual era. The reason the Titanic continues to fascinate us is because we have seen the boots on the seabed, the chandeliers, and the rusted bow. The Hydrus and similar drones are bringing this visual experience to lesser-known but equally important shipwrecks. They allow us to transform the seabed from a black void into a rich, colorful, and narrative landscape. Imagine the future possibilities. If a small, autonomous drone can solve the mystery of the SS Nemesis in a quick and efficient mission, what other mysteries are about to fall? From gold-laden Spanish galleons in the Caribbean to lost World War, 2 submarines in the Pacific, and yes, even the finer and yet unmapped details of the Titanic's debris field, everything is now within reach. Furthermore, there is a crucial ecological and economic component in the so-called blue economy. These drones do not only search for lost ships, they are essential tools for the planet's future. They map the seabed for climate science, inspect vital offshore wind energy infrastructure for the energy transition, and study the health of coral reefs threatened by global warming. The discovery of the SS Nemesis is, in a way, a spectacular magic trick that draws public attention to a tool that is vital for our survival and understanding of the ocean. The story of the SS Nemesis, brought to light by the Hydrus drone, is a powerful reminder that the ocean is the world's largest museum, but a museum that has always had the lights off. The premise of finding a 1912-era shipwreck is fascinating not only because of the rusted metal, but because of the interrupted human stories it contains. When the experts were speechless before the recordings, it was not just because of the 4K resolution or the robot's perfect image stabilization. It was because of the feeling of intimacy and presence. The drone acted as an eye in time, erasing the 120 years of distance between us and those 32 sailors who perished fighting the storm. It allowed us to see what they saw for the last time, now in calm and silence. The essay that technology is now writing is one of reunion. The Hydrus has shown that the depths are no longer a place where things are lost forever into oblivion. They are a place where things wait patiently to be found. And while the Titanic rests in its tragic glory in the Atlantic, the SS Nemesis now joins it in the history books, no longer as a painful unknown, but as a visible and tangible testimony to the fury of the sea and human ingenuity. The next time we look at the ocean, we should no longer see it only as an impenetrable and mysterious blue surface. We must see it as the Hydrus sees it, a world full of stories, biology, and memory waiting for us to turn on the light. And that possibility of illuminating the total darkness is a reality that leaves us all, experts and laypeople, absolutely marveling at what still remains to be discovered. It is shocking to think that this iron giant was hidden for a century, waiting for a technology like the Hydrus to turn on the light. This discovery not only rewrites history, but brings peace to the families of the crew. What other secrets do you think are still hidden in the abyss? Leave me your theory in the comments. I will be reading them. If you enjoyed this trip to the bottom of the sea, share the video and be sure to subscribe for our next historical expedition. See you in the next mystery.